From soggy Le Mans grids to glittering auction tents in Monterey and Abu Dhabi, British cars have quietly become some of the most valuable machines on the planet. Today we're counting down the 10 most expensive British cars ever sold at auction, race winners, movie star supercars, and one machine that didn't just top this list, it topped every list. Hit subscribe if you love the sound of a gavel dropping on a 7-figure sum. Let's start at number 10. Number 10. Aston Martin DB3S. Back in 2020, in a year the world would rather forget, this 1955 works racer became the most valuable British car sold at auction that year, hammering for a little over £3 million. Its resume includes competition history, a full restoration, and even an Australian land speed record along the way. It's proof that you don't need 8 figures to make headlines, you just need the right chassis number and the right story. Number 9. 1929 Bentley Blower, the Birkin car. Before American money took over the top of these lists, this supercharged Bentley 4.5-liter, once campaigned by legendary racer Sir Henry Tim Birkin, sold for around £5 million in 2012. For years it stood as the most expensive British car ever sold on European soil, a reminder that vintage Bentleys built their reputation the hard way, thundering around Brooklands and Le Mans long before anyone called them investments. Number 8. 1995 McLaren F1. Sold at Monterey in 2017 by Bonhams for roughly $15.5 million, this road-going F1 arrived just as the model's legend was exploding. Gordon Murray's masterpiece, with its central driving seat and naturally aspirated V12, was already being talked about as the greatest supercar ever built. This sale proved collectors agreed, and it wouldn't be the last F1 to make this list. Number 7. Aston Martin DP215. A one-off born from Aston Martin's early 1960s Le Mans program, DP215 pushed close to 200 miles an hour down the Mulsanne Straight in 1963 before a gearbox failure ended its race. Piloted by Phil Hill, it later sold for a price deep into 8 figures, prized as one of the most significant prototypes Aston Martin ever built and kept by the factory itself until the 1970s. Number 6. Aston Martin DB4 GT Zagato 2VEV. Known by its number plate rather than its chassis number, this 1961 lightweight racer was once driven by Formula One great Jim Clark. One of only 3 built to the ultra-rare DP209 specification, it went to auction in Paris carrying an estimate of up to £15 million, briefly billed as the most valuable British car ever offered at a European sale. Zagato's razor-edged bodywork over Aston's Straight 6 made it as beautiful as it was fast. Number 5. Gordon Murray Automotive S1 LM. A modern entry on an otherwise vintage-heavy list. Built to mark 30 years since the McLaren F1 GTR's Le Mans win, this S1 LM is one of just 5 hypercars from Professor Gordon Murray, packing a 4.3-liter naturally aspirated V12 producing well over 700 horsepower. It sold for over $20 million in late 2025, arriving at the auction block by helicopter and setting a new benchmark for the most expensive new car ever sold at a non-charity auction. Number 4. Jaguar D-Type. Chassis XKD 501 wasn't just any D-Type, it was the first one built for a private team, raced by Écurie Ecos, and driven to outright victory at the 1956 24 Hours of Le Mans. 60 years almost to the day after that win, RM Sotheby's sold it at Monterey for nearly $22 million, making it the most expensive Jaguar and, at the time, one of the priciest British cars ever to change hands. Number 3. Aston Martin DBR1. 4 years, this was the car that defined most expensive British car ever sold. Chassis DBR1 of 1, the very first of only 5 DBR1s built, carried Stirling Moss to a legendary comeback victory at the 1959 Nürburgring 1,000 kilometers, breaking the lap record 16 times along the way. It had also been driven by Jack Brabham and Carroll Shelby. In 2017, RM Sotheby's sold it in Monterey for $22.5 million, a record that would stand for years. Number 2. McLaren F1, Creighton Brown. Named for the McLaren executive who once ran it, this is the only F1 finished in a distinctive tan-brown color combination, complete with matched luggage and a one-off watch engraved with its chassis number. With barely over 200 miles on the odometer, it's considered a benchmark example of the F1 breed, commanding one of the highest prices ever paid for the model and cementing the F1's status as Britain's ultimate collector car. Number 1. McLaren F1, Chassis 014. And here it is. Originally delivered new to the Brunei royal family before making its way through the UK and eventually the US, this 1994 McLaren F1 was later restored, refitted with the factory high downforce kit, and sold by RM Sotheby's in Abu Dhabi in 2025. The final price, just over $25 million. It didn't just become the most expensive McLaren ever sold, it broke the all-time record for the most expensive British car ever to go under the hammer, a record that had stood since that Aston Martin DBR1 sale 8 years earlier. From Le Mans winning Jaguars to a hypercar that arrived by helicopter, these 10 cars tell the story of how Britain went from building honest family saloons to building some of the most coveted machines money can buy. If you enjoyed this countdown, like, subscribe, and tell us in the comments which of these British icons you'd take home if the budget were no object. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.